Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the GC Informer. I'm Snowy, otherwise known as Count Fracula, bringing you some news, funnily enough. Let's start with Halo, a franchise that I personally am not overly interested in as a whole, but interesting developments have occurred because the Master Chief Collection, which is a set of basically all Halo games bar Halo 5. Yes, no, maybe? Let's check that. I believe it is though. Yes. Will be made available on Steam. Well, PC, but Steam is the important bit there. The Master Chief Collection previously came out on Xbox One in 2014 and had to have a lot of fixes applied to it because it came out in a bit of a broken state. However, it seems to be running pretty fine now. And this announcement that it is actually coming to PC is a very welcome one for a lot of Halo fans. It comes as roughly the same time as Halo Reach is going to be coming to the Master Chief Collection. It's going to be added to it. Those of you who own the Master Chief Collection already will not have to pay extra for it, thank goodness, to the best of my knowledge, unless I am somehow wrong and have been misinformed. But anyway, the release on PC though is going to be done slightly differently. You're not going to be able to get the whole experience at once. Instead, they are launching the franchise in chronological order, and that's not chronological from when they were launched, that's chronological in terms of the timeline, meaning Halo Reach is actually going to be available first if you buy the Master Chief Collection, followed by, obviously, Halo 1, 2, 3 and 4, which is an interesting move. Certainly a move that makes sense in regards to people who've not experienced it before can get the timeline in their heads maybe a little bit better. Although I believe, from what I've heard, part of the appeal of Halo Reach was that it's telling something that we knew but in the background, and this is like the proper telling of it. I don't know, maybe it'd be better in this order, maybe it won't be, I don't know. Personally, again, I'm not a Halo fan. I know that Sully's quite the Halo fan though, so I should imagine he will be pretty excited for this. No particular release date yet though, unfortunately, but we do know that it will be coming to the Windows Store and to Steam some point this year. The other thing I'm going to talk about today is Sega, and Sega have done a thing that, well, in the West seems like a very big overreaction, but in their native Japan, maybe less so. They have pulled sale entirely, at least for now, of a game called Judgement, which is a spin-off of the Yakuza series, however you want to pronounce it. I pronounce it Yakuza. Anyway, it's a spin-off of that series, and they have pulled the sale of the game because the actor who plays one of the villainous characters in the game has been levied with allegations of drug use. And while in the Western world that hardly comes as a surprise to most people, an actor taking drugs, it is a bit of a bigger controversy in Japan, where drug use itself is seen as even more negatively somehow than it is in the West, particularly allegations of cocaine use in this particular instance. Now, this isn't the first time they've done something similar, Sega. There was Yakuza 4, and its Western release had an actor removed and changed because of similar allegations levied against him. Those allegations turned out to be false, although the actor has since left the industry just because he didn't want to have to deal with all of this, all the stigma surrounding it anymore. So this is a very big deal in Japan, just so you have the context for it. But anyway, the game Judgement, back on topic, was due to be released in the Western world in June of this year. As we know, Yakuza games, a lot of that kind of series of games, get released in Japan first and then have a localization later on down the line. This one in particular, as I say, was due out in June, but now we don't really know what's happening because they pulled the sale entirely, both digitally and physically, in stores and retailers in Japan. we don't know what they're going to do, whether they're going to patch everything out and re-record the villain's lines with someone else, whether or not they'll have to completely take him out because, you know, modern likenesses and 3D models, he's basically in the game like you would have an actor in a movie. And because he's such a big character in it, it really does leave the whole thing a little bit up in the air as to what they're going to do. Now, they could just release it in the West as is. I believe they've already finished the vocal track for this character. In fact, pretty much all of it in the English dub. So they could theoretically release it as is once the localization is finished in the West, but it would seem a little bit incongruous to do that if they change something in the Japanese release. So it really has thrown the whole June release date up into the air, and at the moment we don't know what's going to happen. But all we do know is they don't like the guy who played the villain anymore because he apparently took drugs. That brings us to the end of this episode of the GC Informer, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe and share to this channel whatever you fancy. Our social links are in the description. Stay tuned though to GameCast for news, reviews, podcasts, lots of great content. I'm sure you'll love some of it, and I'll see you soon for something else.